Having Luke on this track is phenomenal. I could say I'm humbled. I'm grateful that he joined me. I did write Raise the Bar with Billy Dean. We were in Florida at my place, and Billy came by. And I'd had this idea for a long time. And I'll tell you, the idea didn't come from a physical bar. The bar, it meant to literally raise the bar. We use the term all the time. Hey, we need to raise the bar. We got to do better. But it came from a record label executive one time after I had had 2 number ones and had the most played song of the year. He told me that we needed to bring in a new producer. And he said we needed to raise the bar. And I said, we had the most played song of the year. I don't know where the bar can go. But we'll do it if you think if we should. So I wrote that down that day and I thought, man, there's got to be a way to write this. And of course, meeting Luke, hearing some of the stuff and some of his hits, I couldn't help but think of combining the two. Yeah, so the relationship with Jelly Roll is very indicative of the relationships that I have with people in the music industry. I have never befriended someone just because they were in the business. I don't have friends in this business that are my friends because they're famous or because they I'm friends with him because we share something. The night that he was on the Grand Ole Opry and he gave this speech about how Almost Home impacted him and his life, it hammered me. It literally, I was on the edge of tears on my bus when my buddy called and said, hey, you got to watch this Jelly Roll he's some Jelly Roll. I'm like, Jelly Roll? What kind of name is that? I immediately went online and I pulled up the footage from him at the Grand Ole Opry, and I sat there on the edge of tears. I just couldn't believe it, and I was humbled, and at the same time I was like semi-ashamed to think, I had these preconceived ideas about this guy, but then I heard him talk. And it's like, man, it just floored me. It hammered my heart, and it made me want to meet him. It made me want to tell him thank you. 2 guys that come from 2 completely different backgrounds, and we were immediately bonded and friends. And our differences meant nothing. It was what we shared that created something that will forever be. I love Blake, and you think because we are best friends that we see each other and talk all the time, but it's just not that way, and it's difficult. The good news is, like a best friend, when I call Blake, I feel like I just finished a conversation with him 10 minutes ago, even though it may have been 10 weeks. One of my favorite stories about Blake, I took him on a hunt, and we were in the deer stand. I reached down and tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, there's a good buck coming in. And I went back to the deer, and I heard, and I went back to Blake, and he looked up and he said, how far out is he? He had just opened a beer. I'm like, man, you can't kill a deer drinking a beer. That's Blake Shelton. I promise you, what you see is what you get. And he's like that all the time, and I love it. The best Gary story I have is when we re-recorded That's What I Love About Sunday. I sent it to the head of our label and a couple of people at the label, and I said, hey, I want you to listen to this, tell me what you think. Because we re-recorded it completely different than the way it was before. It's more maybe soulful R&B kind of church. We mixed a lot of things in there, slowed it down. I sent it to the record label. Within about 5 minutes, I got a phone call from the head of the label, and he was just flipping out. Oh my gosh, I didn't think this song could get any better. It's even better. And whoever that lady singing the gospel church stuff is, she is phenomenal. I'm like, that's Gary LeVox, you idiot. So needless to say, I told Gary that story, and every time he sees me, he hugs me like he's a Southern gospel church lady. Here's the deal. Lany Wilson, like I've talked about with all of these guys, they're all so busy, and she may be the busiest of them all. Most nominated at every award show we had here lately. She's just absolutely killing it. One of the more real people I've known. When we were talking about all these songs, this whole project came about because of one song, and I did not want to do it. This was one of the songs that came about afterwards because it was such a big TikTok hit. And it's got its own dance. I thought, I can't stray too far away from where it is. So what did make sense was to approach it from a perspective that has not been done. And that is from that female perspective. And when Lany sings when she sings this with me, when we replace the line, when she says, with the girl up on the tractor, it's a brand new song. So for that, I'm super excited. And I think it brings a lot of light to those females that work in that arena. It gives them an opportunity to toot their horn a little bit. Trace is one of those that stands above and goes above and beyond everyone else in our format. He's one of those people that goes out of his way to say thank you. And I don't just mean by shaking, I mean by recording songs, and not just songs. I'm talking about hit songs that say thank you to those that serve. Every other song, I start it and my guest joins me and comes in and does things, that's normally the way it's done. When we were in the studio, Trace and I were in the studio, and I'd already sang it 2 or 3 times all the way down, and we had a good vocal. Trace went in and started singing it from the top, and when he started saying, I'm like, Trace needs to be the one singing from the beginning. He needs to sing the first lines. It's just what he said was impacting. I believe this song encompasses the very moral and value fiber that makes up middle America. The dots on the maps, the big farmlands out there that you drive through. I believe that this song talks about the thought process of those people. And that's not to say that a lot of those people in these cities don't feel the same way as well. But this song truly talks about standing up for what we believe as a nation, as a country, as a soldier.